Sorry?
You get abandoned by the rest of the board?
Well, we'll talk about it. Pretty kind of. Summertime, some issues have come up, so we're running, I mean, this was even, because of everything going on, it was on the last minute meeting together. So we have many of our entities and only won't be here. So,
Well, that might be shorter meeting.
absolutely, probably will be, yeah. Depends on how it goes, you know what I mean? We'll have more time for discussion if so be it, but.
Had his lawnmowers the other day, so that upsets me a lot. Hey, it's always good to see you. No, thank you for the invite. I was going to thank Eddie for the invite for the National Night Out. Exactly, yeah. I appreciate that very much, so I'll be ready to go.
Absolutely, I would not forget you.
Right on, thank you.
Yes, so it's good, it's good. So you'll be there, right?
I plan to be. In fact, I mean, in theory, I have everything I need right now. I can set it up at any given time.
As a matter of fact, you said something.
I just have to send back the email to like officially reply back. I just haven't done that. I can try to do that when I get home tonight.
I will be there, that's it.
I will be.
I hear some people have been here for nearly years, but a lot of the new people.
All right, we're going to get started tonight. I get to do this for my first time. All right, Eddie is dearly missed, so I'm here tonight. Eddie's on vacation. The other members have other family issues that have come up and so forth, so we're running on our skeleton crew tonight. The meeting was kind of put together shorthanded and didn't have all of our resources contacted, so there's not going to be everybody who's typically at our meetings tonight, okay? Law enforcement won't be here tonight. I apologize for that. And Ara from the 2nd District, she won't be here tonight either, okay? But we do have LA County Public Works with, is it parking enforcement? Parking, basically all parking, and he's going to put on a presentation for us and what they're doing and their goals that they've set for our community. So we'll have a great presentation for that. Stats. We don't have any stats tonight. We'll play catch up with the stats and we'll publish them right on the website. Finances, same thing. Eddie's not here. We don't have the books. So we'll get caught up on that as well tonight. All right. Big event, our National Night Out is on schedule. It's going to be at the county library here next door. It's going to be for August 5th. So plan on that. You know, invite.
Email saying you had a problem with organizing, did that get resolved?
I'm not sure which,
Parties,
there's so many moving parts to it. I don't know which part you're talking about.
parties sent a note saying that she couldn't do it and she needed help. What happened with that?
We're looking for volunteers to help.
Okay, there it is. So we're looking for volunteers.
Just respond to the email and she can assign something.
Right, volunteers to help out with some booths or putting it up, things of that nature.
Okay, I wasn't sure how much she had solved and how much she hadn't.
Yeah, you reach out to us and we'll give you some more details, but we do need volunteers. So anybody who has time to help out with the event, it would be greatly appreciated. And that's going to be August 5th. And we usually have a pretty good turnout. It's a good event for everybody to come to. And those of you who have been there, I think pretty much everybody's been to our event here, so it's a good event. The board, Wiseburn board, our election is in September, right? So in order to sit on the board, we have to be elected to the board, or anybody who's interested in sitting on the board. If you're interested in becoming a board member for a term, contact us on the website, let us know who you are, and we'll set you up with what you need to do. Usually it's a short resume of who you are, you've been in the community and so forth, and what you want people to know about you. Then the election takes place. It's going to be in September, and then we'll have the board seated after that, all right? 5-member board, okay? So anybody who's interested in running, put your name in the hat, all right? Or helping out. So, Mr. Garcia, I'm going to turn it over to you at this point, sir. The mic is yours. Are you going to speak from that position? Okay. Oh, yeah. Yeah, there we go.
All right. Once again, thank you for having me. My name is Julian Garcia. I'm a principal engineer with LA County Public Works in our Traffic Safety and Mobility Division. We deal with traffic safety inquiries, traffic control, traffic management, and parking enforcement, parking regulations. And we work closely with the Sheriff's Department Parking Enforcement Unit. They're here in the back with us today as well to help address questions. Specifically, what I will be talking about today is about the non-conforming vehicle ordinance, kind of explain what that is and what our plans moving forward that is. So the non-conforming vehicle ordinance is LA County Code 15.64.075. You know, call it the non-conforming vehicle ordinance. Other cities and jurisdictions have similar ordinances in play that they call them maybe something like oversized vehicle ordinance. And what it is it defines different districts, different areas with communities. And then it says that within those districts, you may not park a non-conforming vehicle in any public street, alley, or public right-of-way. That's what the law says. That law is in the books for a specific district, and we're working on expanding it. So what is a non-conforming vehicle? Okay, that's any vehicle that exceeds any one of 3 dimensions. Okay, that's any vehicle that exceeds either 20 feet in length, 8 feet in width, or 7.5 feet in height. So that's why it's also known as oversized vehicle ordinances. What it's making is defining a district and putting a prohibition on any vehicle that is any oversized vehicle, any vehicle that exceeds any of those dimensions considered non-conforming will not be able to park within that district unless they have a specific valid permit.
I'm confused. Are you saying that exists today, or you're saying you're in the process of putting it?
So it exists in certain locations, and we're expanding it to new locations, including we're proposing to expand it in a variety of communities. One of the new communities we're proposing to expand it into is the Wiseburn community.
Today it's not in place.
Not in Wiseburn, yes, correct. To that, there's a map there. It's hard to see the green areas, but this is kind of the southern half of, it's majority of LA County, this is kind of the southern half. You see the areas that you can see in green. Those are the unincorporated areas where it exists already. So it's up in Altadena, Ladera Heights, Windsor Park, Marina del Rey, South Whittier, West Whittier, La Mirada. It's a small pocket in like Long Beach area that's unincorporated. So those are the 8 communities where it already exists as defined in the code. And all the red areas that you see right there are the areas where we are proposing to expand it. And that includes Wiseburn over there on the west side. You can see on the bottom of the red areas, we got Lenox, Del Air, and Wiseburn. That's how we're defining that district. Why are we proposing to expand this ordinance? As you probably have noticed, past few years, population growth, parking, on-street parking keeps becoming more and more of a premium. And we have oversized vehicles, large vehicles that end up using that public space, probably parking there for prolonged periods of time. Not only does that create potentially like visibility and accessibility concerns, but it also limits the available on-street parking for community residents. So in areas, particularly residential communities, we're looking to expand that to make that not allowed anymore, to save the parking. In some areas, we have been trying to combat this overrunning of public streets by oversized vehicles, by putting in like overnight parking restrictions or other parking restrictions that we have in our repertoire to be able to try to address that. But that has a major impact on all residents, because if we say no overnight parking in a residential community, that means everybody. That makes it an issue. So
This ordinance does not affect, like, if somebody has their mobile home on their driveway, is that affected by this or not?
correct, it will not be affected. That is private property. Now, there are areas of the county that do have, from regional planning and community standards districts, rules on where in your property you can park it. But this ordinance is only for public streets. So it's a public on-street parking that would be impacted. The goal is that once it gets implemented and we have it in place, areas where we have put overnight parking restrictions to try to address that, we may be able to roll back those restrictions and open it up for residential parking again. I don't think in Wiseburn it's been too widespread as it has been in other places where we're putting a lot of overnight parking restrictions. But as you can see, you're very close to Lenox and Del Aire, and we wanted to make sure that if we put this ordinance in place in one area, we're not just displacing those vehicles to the neighboring communities. So that's why in the analysis, you see that the pockets end up spreading to make sure that we're not just pushing the problem down the street to a different community. So in particular, this is the Del Aire Lenox district, is one of the districts that is being defined in the proposal, which includes the communities of Lenox, Del Aire, and Wiseburn. The district names are based on the census designated areas, so that's why it doesn't have Wiseburn in the name. But it definitely includes it. I want to make that clear that that is one of the communities that is included in there. The names may be changed because we're finding there's limit on characters and some of the district names end up being large. Nevertheless, the boundaries will be what's shown up there, which is those green boundaries with the yellow in the middle. And that is basically all of the unincorporated areas. Areas that are not part of a city are going to have this in place if our efforts are successful. Over there you can see, that's kind of what the sign will look like at the entrance. Every entrance of the neighborhood will have it. So the signs are large, and we're not going to be placing them on every street every so often, but we're placing them at every entrance of the district. I think that works particularly well in a place like Wiseburn where there's limited entrances. So I think we determined it was about 30, 35 signs that would be needed to be placed at all of the entrances to the community. It would say no parking anytime except for the dimensions in there. And on the top of there, you can't really see the plaque too well, but it'll have the neighborhood name as well, just to clarify, this is for the entire Wiseburn area.
Excuse me,
Yes, sir.
doesn't, on the RVs, doesn't the permits exempted, doesn't it just?
And I will explain the specifics for the RV permits. That's the one thing that'll be different in the new ordinance. It's not going to say RV permits exempt. It's going to say permits exempt. Permits can be given, and I'll explain it specifically what permits exist within the ordinance, what permits don't exist, and there might be future permit processes for other vehicles if it's something the community wants to explore as well. But as it is written right now, it would include all oversized vehicles. So it's not just RVs, or it's not just like 18-wheelers, it's every vehicle that exceeds those dimensions. Again, 20 feet in length, 8 feet in width, or 7.5 feet in height. That includes any part that's attached to the vehicle, a trailer to the vehicle. Basically, the only part that doesn't include that is the antenna. You know, the antenna could go farther than that, but every other part of the vehicle, including even if you have stuff that you're storing on the back of your truck, like a refrigerator that's standing up, that will be considered part of that vehicle, and it will not be allowed to be parked over. Again, big rigs, box trucks, utility vehicles, RVs, permits exempted, and I will get to the permits specifically on that case. Food trucks will be impacted as well. There are discussions about ways to maybe allow that through special permits in specific locations, maybe specific times, but we're working with different county agencies to see how that could happen to be properly enforced. But as of right now, the way that it's written, it would not allow food trucks within those areas. There's always exempted vehicles, and it's literally just any active service vehicle that is out there. So if you have a plumber coming to service your home and they have a big truck, they can park it in there during the time that they're servicing your home, though. So if you are a plumber that owns a truck, you can't park it on the street if you're not actively working on a service call. That's construction, maintenance, utilities, those kind of vehicles, as long as they're in the process of a valid active service call, will be exempt from this. And delivery trucks. Even when we have truck controls, truck routes, by law, you're always allowed to drive a vehicle into any street to make a delivery. So you could have an 18-wheeler going down your neighborhood as long as they are delivering something to a property within that street. And that's just state law, commerce. We cannot make any, they're always exempt from any kind of restrictions on that end. So this is an effort that we're working, it's two departments working in this together, and it's us at Public Works, and we work with the Sheriff's Department, parking enforcement, because it's up to them to enforce. Our roles are, in Public Works, in general, we establish all of the parking regulations. So besides just this one, if you want red curb, if you want 2-hour parking in your home, in front of your homes, or on your block, all parking regulations go through Public Works. We review, approve, and enact the regulations. And then we work for, we also manufacture and install the signs for the regulations. And then Sheriff's Department works with the enforcement and with the issuance of residential permits. So that's where there are, as you pointed out, it does say RVs exempted. This is meant for if you are a resident within a district boundaries of a non-conforming vehicle ordinance, and you are the registered owner of an RV, you can get a temporary pass for 24 hours at a time to park your vehicle in front of your home. You can do that up to 2 consecutive days, so no more than 48 hours at a time, and up to 30 times a year. So you get up to 30 permits a year to park your vehicle. There's no cost to the permits right now. Once this operation grows, there may be in the future, but that would also be outreach to make sure that we notify. But it is no cost. And this is intended for if you own a vehicle, you're going on vacation, you need to park it up there to load it up. Or after your vacation, you're coming back, you park it up front to empty it out. But you'll get a 24-hour permit, and you can string up to 2 of those in a row in case it was a really big trip, and you gotta make sure you get everything out of there. But that is the only existing permit that is actually laid out on the ordinance. There is no other provision for permits yet. And we don't plan to put those in ordinances beyond that. We may be working, as I mentioned, with other departments to develop other potential permits, but those will be in conjunction with more community outreach and making sure that we establish what the parameters for that would be. The only one that we can really see is, and I don't think is an issue here in this district in particular, but there are others where they do want to have the ability to have food trucks in their major commercial corridor, because some of those districts include commercial corridors, and they want to be able to have that ability to have food trucks in there for certain hours or certain specific locations. So we're working that out, but again, that will be on a case-by-case basis, and it will be tied to the business license. At least that's the plan, is we're working with Treasurer Tax Collector to tie it to the food truck's business license. The process is not quite in place yet, but it won't be spelled out in the ordinance. It'll simply be something worked out in processes with Treasurer Tax Collector, Public Health, to make sure they're not in violation. So what is the process? So first of all, we're just doing outreach. We're going to all those communities that I showed you in red. We're going out there, letting them know, here's our plan. We're providing some information. I have the pamphlets, or it's a 2-sided flyer that has some questions that we've received. It's in English on one side, it's Spanish on the other. And the map, I put them over there. If you didn't get one, we'll make sure you get one. We have a website that is being updated, so we can have a live map where you can look up your address and see if you're in there. So we'll continue to provide all of that. That's the outreach for the first step that we're working on. We're also preparing the ordinance amendment documentation. So we're working with the county council to actually write the ordinance changes. As I mentioned, the ordinance exists. It has laid out the specific districts. So we're adding language to include all the other districts that we included in there, as well as some clarifications on minor items, but it's not going to be a substantial change to what's already in existence.
Well, before you add food trucks to be able to be in this area, will we hear about it and have a chance to express our concerns?
Absolutely, and actually the food truck part will not be included in the ordinance. The ordinance will not have that provision.
That's what I'm wondering.
Yeah, like it's not part of that. So as I can show here, an ordinance amendment actually going in and changing the law it's a complicated process. So we don't want to have to come back every time we need to amend something in here. So what we simply said in there in the ordinance right now is you cannot park there unless you have a valid permit. We can define the valid permit process outside of the ordinance through procedures tied to, as I mentioned, business license or other ways. So we would do that process if we're going to add a process to add permits to that. It will still be outreach done. It will still talk to the communities and make sure it applies there. We just don't envision it going in here because there's 13 new districts. It's a long process, and everything we add in there adds like 6 months to the process. So we want to keep it as clean as possible, which means that it's going to it's going to be impacting all of the vehicles that we said without any changes to that. So we pretty much have a draft amendment completed. We're just trying to see if we need to amend anything based on feedback or discussions, but the amendment's pretty much in place. Then it has to go to the board. You'll see in our documentation, our target date was fall. We're almost at fall. We're not quite there yet. We might be late fall. If we don't get any more challenges to address within the ordinance, I think we have it pretty good. Still optimistic that we might go up to the board in fall, but that might slip depending on the next few weeks of outreach. The board will adopt the ordinance, and it'll be in effect 30 days after adoption. But the real final step to it is actually the signage, because parking enforcement cannot cite vehicles unless there's actual signage explaining or notifying them of the law. So installation of signs is going to be what I envision logistically to actually be the critical path, because it's only about 45 signs in Wiseburn, but we got Delaware, Lenox, Willow. We have a lot of districts. So we're already working with our crews to line up and be ready to manufacture those signs as soon as we have the okay to move forward. So that might take a little while, but we still have the goal to have everything in place by the end of the year is really what our goal is, to have the signs in place and enforcement occurring. So then once the signs are in, enforcement can start occurring. And that's why we're working close with parking enforcement to make sure that everything is ready to go, that they're notified, that the community is notified. You will get, once it goes to the board, we'll send them more notifications that say, hey, this was approved. 30 days, here's the date that this becomes effective. All right, that's in a nutshell the presentation. I'll be open to any questions you have. There is an email there too that I want to make sure you guys have. It's just parking@pw, that's Public Works, parking@pw.lacounty.gov. You can ask questions regarding this ordinance or any parking restriction, any parking concerns you have for restrictions and regulations can go there. So, yes, sir.
So the size of the vehicle, if it's just one of the sizes is oversized, that's a violation?
Correct. It's any one of the 3 dimensions it's in excess of, so.
How does the fine work? How much will the fine be for a violation? Is it the same amount every violation, or is it progressive?
It's the same amount every violation, and the violation is the base violation for red curb or for everything else. So it's $50 plus fees, which adds up to $63. That's the citation amount. We actually will be going to the board to put that into the books ahead of this because we already have some districts in place. So it should be probably, that one in September will be adopted, so we'll have it recorded as $50, but then there's $13 in court fees to every parking ticket that goes. So it'll be $63. We're also working to make it a towable offense, though. That's also part of it, is to make sure that it's
Actually cheaper than an RV camp.
and that's why, part of the reason why we did not make it any higher is because it's already in place. It matches the other fines. And if we were to do, we had to do a cost analysis to show what the proper amount would be and delay the process. We wanted to get it in the books first, then we can come back and maybe change the fines as it goes. But we just wanted to make sure that we had the violation approved and put in place. And one of the things we're adding, because working with parking enforcement, and one of the things they kept telling us is, well, people just ignore tickets sometimes, like, can we make it a towable offense? So that's what we're adding in there at the same time. It's not in the ordinance itself. The way that towing provisions work is that you don't add them to the parking law. We already have the ability to add towing provisions to any existing law, as long as we can determine a pattern of noncompliance. So we work with parking enforcement to put that language in, So it's going to be a parallel effort. When it goes to the board for adoption, it's going to say, please adopt this ordinance amendment, and please also find that towing provisions should be added to the locations.
What is gonna be the limit? Is it gonna be 3 tickets, 10 tickets, 15 tickets, 4 gets towed?
If it's a towable offense, you can get towed at the first ticket. Like a towable offense just means that any violation is a towable violation. So that's like red curb is not a progressive, so any violation. Now, in practice,
Who determines that?
well, parking enforcement will be doing that, so. And I think when it's first put in place, it'll probably be like 30 days of warnings. And that's operationally, we work with parking enforcement to determine how big of a grace period do we do?
First 30 days.
Right, like, it's like saying, okay, make sure that everybody's aware of what's going on, and whether or not we do first offense, we do second offense, they can look at their records and say, well, we already ticketed this one once. And that's an operational decision that we can work with parking enforcement. But technically, towable at the first offense. And that's how we are advertising it as. If it's a towable offense, you can be towed at the first offense, just like fire lane violations.
Like I was saying, just how do they determine whether or not, say it's the first time, well, am I gonna tow him or do I not tow him?
Well, that's what we'll develop a policy that, because we want to be consistent across the board with everybody. Like we're not, if we decide that it's going to be a second violation, that will be advertised to everybody and that will be known. If it's first violation, that will also be known and enforced consistently across the board on that. But it is, parking enforcement has that discretion and enforcement on, like, if you're parking and like blocking traffic a little bit or in any way making an unsafe condition, towable right away.
Never happens.
So.
So who, like, how often is parking enforcement going to patrol the area? The only time we see them is Thursday and Friday,
Not even
for the
that.
street sweeping.
So with parking enforcement, they are going through their expansion efforts still too. Like, we have them all here, we work with them. We understand, and then they're well aware too, that there has been challenges to the enforcement of existing laws, but they are going through a expansion of services. They were approved for expansion of personnel. They're hiring new personnel, training new personnel. So I don't think we can guarantee exactly when, at which times they're gonna go, but there's gonna be additional support and responses necessary. That's what they're ramping up towards, to make sure that they can have the adequate resources to not only enforce what's already existing, but this new laws, especially when the new laws come in, to focus on that to establish patterns and behavior.
I think the question, correct me if I'm wrong, is, can we expect parking enforcement to proactively seek these violators out and take action, or are they only going to respond to calls to service?
So I believe it, especially when it first rolls out, it will be an active, for sure it will be an active one. Again, we want to establish that pattern of behavior by making sure that there's a new law coming out. But that's something we work with parking enforcement daily. We have staff embedded working with them directly. So that's operations that we can discuss with them and make sure, okay, what we need here is every day. And if we see a lull in violations, and maybe we can roll back to, okay, let's focus on a different type of violation and calls for service. So they have that flexibility to address what challenges they see within the community, to say this is what we need to focus our enforcement on. If you see them on Thursday and Fridays out there, it's probably because we have been working with them a lot to make sure that they assist us with the street sweeping. Because our street sweepers can't operate if cars are parked in the way. So that's one of the things that we work with them a lot, is to make sure that they are going ahead of the street sweeper. Now what we find is that as soon as the street sweeper passes, they'll come right back, the parking folks. Or sometimes as soon as the parking enforcement passes, if the street sweeper's lagging too far behind,
Parking enforcement goes by, they're back out there.
and that is a challenge that we're looking to explore with potential additional fines or other things to add in there to have further deterrence, but that is a separate parallel effort outside of this ordinance amendment.
I hate to say it, I've seen what else Segundo does. Their parking enforcement follows the street sweeper. And if they catch a car out there, it's ticketed right then and there. They don't have to wait for the car to come back 5 minutes after the street sweeper goes by, or a half an hour later, or whatever. cars there, and the street sweepers there, they get ticketed.
Yeah, and we work with parking enforcement, and I think that, you know, our street sweepers, we can get them in contact with enforcement. I believe there's a lot of areas where they do that as well already, like they're going hand in hand, either just ahead or just behind the sweeper. Now, sometimes their sweep goes slower than,
When the street sweeper comes by, the parking enforcement is right behind them or right in front of them. So if there's somebody parked, they ticket them, and then the street sweeper goes by.
yeah, and that's like the ideal operation that we had for that, you know. Now, we don't always have the same number of street sweepers operating as parking enforcement officers. That's one of the things that we can coordinate and work out to see if there's a better way to either adjust our routes or adjust their routes to match. But that's the benefit of the collaboration that we're having now, especially this year, starting earlier this year, literally in personnel embedded into their group to make sure that we are, like, our signs meet their needs, you know, because one of the things too is there's always challenges. You know, somebody's gonna challenge a ticket, the sign was crooked, the sign was too far away. So one of the things that, the feedback they give us from parking enforcement is like, we need the sign to look exactly like this at this location. It's like, great, we're gonna go and adjust that. So that is a collaborative effort that has been growing this year that we hope to make permanent.
I have a follow-on question. Once this is implemented, one of the things that happens every single day, because there's no red markings on the curb, all there is a square, rectangle, blue sticker with a fire hydrant that's in the middle of the street. And because people don't want to know the law, they park in front of the fire hydrant. Now, a couple weeks ago, on a Thursday, when they were sweeping on the north side, I did see somebody write a ticket for somebody that parked on the south side of the street in front of the fire hydrant. And that's the first ticket I've seen in probably 5 years for a fire hydrant violation. So when they go, we got this thing all implemented, is that gonna be something they're gonna be looking for? Is the violations of parking in front of fire hydrants?
So there's a big effort with red curbs in general that we're doing. Again, in parallel to this, not directly related, but there was another law that got passed earlier this year, or came into effect, AB 413, that says that it's illegal to park a vehicle within 20 feet of an intersection, or the approach side of an intersection. That law is in effect whether the area, the 20 feet, it's illegal. So you're not allowed to park within 20 feet of a crosswalk, is what it says. But legally, any intersection is a crosswalk, whether it's marked or not marked. Any intersection is a legal crosswalk. So you cannot park within 20 feet of the approach side of an intersection. That just means the side that you're driving towards the intersection. That law is enforceable whether it's a red curb or not red curb. But nobody wants to go out there and start measuring 20 feet to see, can I park this close, can I park that close? So we have an effort now to start increasing all the red curbs. We just recently finished about 585 intersections. I think it's when they're going over 600 intersections. Now we're focusing on our major corridors. We're focusing on our high pedestrian corridors. We're focusing on our collision concentration corridors where we actually have a lot of pedestrian. So we finished batch one, and we're continuing to go down to the different areas to implement a lot of red curb. We also get requests for the fire hydrants because, like, historically, we did not necessarily paint the fire hydrants red. Part of the thing, especially in areas where it's parking is tight, you know, you're not supposed to park within 15 feet. Well, if you park within 13 feet, they usually be like, well, we're not going to worry about it too much. It's close enough. If you paint it, you're going to lose that. But we have a lot more cars out there. There's a lot more violations, as you mentioned. So we are actually now, it's still in a response basis. We don't have a program for red curbs on fire hydrants established yet. But when we get our requests, a lot of times parking enforcement will tell us, hey, we see a car parked here all the time, please paint it red. There is no analysis to be done. It's like, that's a fire hydrant, let's go paint it red. So if you have a fire hydrant in your community that you want to see painted red, you can put in a request and we'll just go ahead and do those, as well as the efforts move forward. There will be probably a more proactive effort going neighborhood-wide, but in the meantime, you can put in a request and it's basically going to be approved because that is a violation. I believe that the way the code is written is not an immediately towable offense. It is just a red curb violation. So it is a ticket. And it's the same ticket, it's a $63 ticket for parking in front of a fire hydrant. Now, I think part of the thing used to be that if you had certain number of outstanding tickets, then you can get towed for outstanding tickets. I think that has changed a little bit. So that's why we are also adding a lot of towing provisions to a lot of different things. But red curbs is not automatically a towable offense. We would have to put signs that say, this is a no stopping zone, tow away, and then have it properly marked for that.
My question on that, going back to the fire hydrant, painted red and whatever, not being towed, what happens if that vehicle's there with a ticket on it, fire truck comes down and has to get to that hydrant?
They will break the windows and put the hose through there. I've seen a fire truck push a car with their engine, just push a car out of the way. We talked to the fire department, and we'd like to see it red. He's like, but there's a car there. We're still getting in there, you know.
One of the situations that's currently ongoing that I frequently call about is the tow trucks that park along Ocean Gate, which is our major north-south thoroughfare that allows two cars to pass if it's not an oversized vehicle. So this impedes the flow of traffic. So I often call and say, hey, this tow truck is there, they're there again, because it is impeding the safe flow of traffic. So it's a commercial vehicle. It's not in the process of helping anyone out. It's currently there. Is this something that I can continue to call about and hope that it gets ticketed and cited? Because it may fall under this, but it was my understanding that commercial vehicles aren't supposed to be parked on residential streets.
So that would have to be a regulation we put in place to actually, it has to be signed, it has to be, is it automatic for residential? Sorry, this is Steven Dykstra. He's one of the team members from.
If it's zone is residential, there's an LA County Code section that says that commercial vehicles over 5 tons cannot park there. We don't enforce it unless we put signs for that, but we don't need a regulation for the sign.
Okay.
We can just check it and we can put the sign right in.
Yeah, because the last time I had inquired, I was told that they needed to survey if there was going to be an oversaturation of signage.
Well,
You said it's
It's been a while. It's been a while.
local people here, like,
Well, I don't know, I know that people change like every 9 months, so. It
Okay.
wasn't any of you, but it was someone.
the existing sign posts, we put it on the sign of the street food here, for example.
Yeah, no, but what I was told at the time, because I've been one of the persons who asked for different things,
Yeah.
was that it may be an oversaturation of signage and they wanted to do, they needed to investigate that. So I left it at that, didn't do anything, but now it's been a persistent issue where the tow truck will park, there's another one that parks a little bit further that will have a trailer attached, and so this is an issue because this is our main thoroughfare in our neighborhood.
Yeah, just, I'll leave my card, send me an email about it, and we can definitely take care of that. As long as it is zone residential, then, it should be okay.
There was an engineer in our community years back who it seemed to be a fallback excuse. That, we don't want to oversight, we don't want to oversight. And so instead of doing a study or coming out and looking at it, that's the excuse.
that was the response. And
There was some frustration with that particular individual, but they're not,
No, it
they're
wasn't.
not ours at least anymore, maybe they moved on.
No, it wasn't that individual. There's been some.
And we do have communities where we put an extra sign and we'll get called back to like, hey, you're destroying my community with signage, but that should be a community-based feedback, not a blanketed response. It's like we would come out. So normally when we put parking restrictions, we do send courtesy notifications to the fronting property owners, letting them know we're planning to do this. You have about 4 weeks to let us know if there's any opposition to that, and that's when we would find out if anybody is worried about there being too many signs or not, and then we can either let them know, well, there's an access issue, so I'm sorry, but we're gonna have to move forward with, or if there is a way to remove some of the other signs and focus on, but that shouldn't be a automatic response. That should be something that comes out of moving forward and getting that feedback from the specific community context.
I don't know if this is right or wrong, but street sweeper days, no parking, 12 to 2. When a street sweeper goes by, the person will pull their car out and park it in the street, and it's not 2 o'clock, is that
Technically, no. You know, but it's with the having, for instance, officer following the street sweeper, we want those resources focusing on the areas where they're actually impeding. Like the purpose of the regulation is to make sure that we have the ability to sweep. So that's where it'll be focused on to make sure that that happens. Technically, they could go back and ticket anybody that's parked there after that time. And I think in an ideal world where our parking enforcement officers have an army of officers to go everywhere, they would go everywhere and ticket everybody. But with the limited resources, they will focus on where the parking violations are in fact obstructing the ability to sweep, especially because that was the purpose of those restrictions. You know, but if there are areas, because we do have areas that are time-limited parking, regardless of street sweeping, because of other purposes. So if there's a location where it's necessary to have no parking at a certain location, a specific time period beyond street sweeping, we can look at changing that regulation and saying the justification here isn't street sweeping, it's something else.
I would say the sweeper and the parking control officer have both passed, and someone moves their car there within the time limit still, it's probably unlikely they'll get a ticket, but it's possible still, right?
Right.
It's still in violation. So I think that's kind of the totality of it, right? The parking control, they gotta move, right? If they come across a car or a situation, and it happens, that they get stuck during street sweeping, and they're doing street sweeping, you may not see that parking control, because now they're held up, but the sweeper's not gonna stop, because they have to keep going too. So those situations of fluid happens. Not every time you're gonna have that. And other times I see two parking controls following the sweeper. I've seen that lately. So they're on their game when they can, but it's like anything else. It depends on what's going on, right? If they're able to, I know they do, they try to keep up with the sweeper. I don't know that they come back and do a follow-up after. That I don't think is common. But if you do park there,
You might.
you still can get a ticket.
Yeah.
It's still restricting that time. So that's up to the person that wants to take that chance to park there.
Yeah, and if
That's
anybody
my
says,
understanding of it.
Julian told me I could park here afterwards, I did not. You cannot, so.
I've seen where there's a Jeep and a regular car, and the Jeep has come by, nobody was parked. Street sweeper goes by, everybody wants to put their car out there, and then the other car or the Jeep comes by, car's by, they get a ticket. So, we're the wise, obey the rules.
Yeah.
It is what it is, you take that chance.
We used to have some Vision Zero signs, at the corner of my street and at the corner of 135th and Ocean Gate. I had sent a message for them to be replaced and they have not been. Is Christian Gonzalez still in charge of that, or is there someone else in charge of the Vision Zero signs?
So he's still part of the Vision Zero team, but I can go follow up on that for you too,
Yeah,
so.
so 135th and Ocean Gate, that's a sign that got completely knocked off. And then 134th Place and Shoot, that's another sign that got completely knocked off. And
Okay.
got replaced.
Okay.
Those are the signs that tell you to slow down.
It's like a blue sign with white that says slow down, that's glued down. But okay, yeah, but Christian Calzada is still part of the Vision Zero team.
I have one more question, just for clarity. The sign that you showed us tonight, that's not gonna be the exact verbiage that would be on our signs, or is it? Is that?
Except for that one says RV permit exempted, it's just gonna say permit exempted, but other than that,
RV won't be on it.
RV won't be on it, it just say permit exempted. We actually might put NCV permit exempted. One of the things, the challenges that we're looking at in the discussions is, when we say permit exempted, they might think any permit will do. So we may need to specify NCV, non-conforming vehicle permit exempted. Because, yeah, because one of the things is, I don't think we have preferential parking districts in this community, but we have other areas where they have preferential parking districts, and that permit will not allow you to park an oversized vehicle. So we want to make sure that for that, it doesn't just say permit exempted, because they'll say, I have a permit. But that's not a permit for parking an oversized vehicle. So we just have to make sure that there's no confusion in that end.
I think the concern is having the RV on there.
Right, yeah, like I think it's, while there will be those provisions, I don't think we need to advertise those provisions because those only apply to residents that can show that they live in the district, they own the vehicle, and it's for a specific amount of time. And I think if a resident has that need, they'll know to call and then find out. So we won't advertise the RV portion of it because that does create some confusion.
And you said that it was gonna say Wiseburn on the sign?
So the district name, because I know we have the Del Air, Lennox, but it didn't have Wiseburn because, so originally we're putting the district names, but those district names are being really long, so we're moving towards having Wiseburn in there.
As it's not listed, you would need something to say that it is Wiseburn. I mean, we're always fighting to have Wiseburn represented, and I understand it's the census district, but there are always issues because it's like, oh, we already took care of Del Air, but
Right.
we're not Del Air. And then even, arguing with persons in the county, like, we live in Wiseburn, or you go on your phone and it's like, oh, you're in Del Air, and I'm like, I'm not in Del Air, I know I live in Wiseburn. And so we're always advocating for representation of Wiseburn. So I just am hoping that it's very clear, written somewhere, other than, like right here, like it's not, and you've explained that, oh, because you kind of lumped it together, which we're used to, but we would like it spelled out.
Yeah, especially for the signage. I think that, so there's other communities where if we have some neighborhoods within a community that say that they want a different sign, but they're fully enclosed by another community that makes it that we don't want to have double signs. In here is very cut and clear that the sign wouldn't make sense if it says anything other than Wiseburn. Because the three areas of this district are pretty separated by corner points. There is no overlap. So if we put a sign up that says Del Air, somebody might be like, hey, this sign is not for here. So the idea is, one of the things, only one word's gonna fit in that plaque. So we're not gonna be able to put like word/word because it gets tiny. So I think that's, the current plan is to have the individual community names as it makes sense. Let me just say that. Because there are some communities that it's gonna be tough to do that because their boundary is also unincorporated, so there wouldn't be a sign in between the two. In your case, every entrance to Wiseburn is not an entrance to any other of the areas. Like Del Air has its own, and Lennox has its own. So the signs will say Wiseburn, Del Air, Lennox.
One other question. So the signs are going to be posted for all the entry into the residential areas. What about the corridors along major roadways? Is that included in that, like along Eaglewood Avenue?
So it will be at any entrance into the district. So whenever any road, major, minor, enters the boundaries, and I can put, you'll see where the streets cross the boundaries.
Yes.
So wherever there's a green line, any street that enters it, whether it's major or minor, is gonna have it. Along the corridors, is not planned to do so, and here's the reason why. So normally you'll see parking signs every so many feet within the street. The reason why that is done is because parking restrictions change sometimes in the middle of the street, one side of the street to the other. So we have to make sure that it's clear where the parking restriction applies to because it's different from one side of the street to the other or from one street to the next. When we have a district-wide ordinance like this, there is no change. So every entry point is what's required. If we start adding it to other corridors, there might be an implication there that I saw it everywhere when I was going on a major corridor, so I know it applies here. But then when I went to a side street, I didn't see it anymore. So therefore, it didn't apply. Like, that argument can be made at that point in time that's saying, we're saying, no, like, you see it when you enter. And that is proper, or that is sufficient legal notification. It reduces the ability for them to fight the tickets because they're saying, no, because you put it every 50 feet over there, you didn't put it every 50 feet here, so therefore, the treatment that was being there was not applied here. How was I supposed to know this is supposed to be different? So this is saying, no, at every entry point, you see it, and that's the only time you see it, and also you should know the law. But
So that will include then the corridors?
just the entrance to the corridors, though, like just
Not along the corridor?
not along the corridors, just as it enters, as it crosses that green line. So basically, as it crosses, what would that be, El Segundo, on the north end? Right, as it crosses those, it will have those going in there, so. Just going into the communities, yeah. So you have one at the north end, and you have one at the south end, or two, because there's the two corridors.
What about the quarter between Popcorn and Westford?
So as it enters as you're driving through and you're about to cross that green line, it'll have a sign there that says. And you might have a street like at the bottom, you see how it goes up and down? You're gonna have one when you enter, you're gonna have one when you enter it again, because you exited the district and you entered it back again, so.
I understand what you're saying, but most people don't know that if they see the one sign, like you said, they go on the next block, oh, there's no sign here. Most people don't know that.
And we'll try to do additional outreach, especially to the residents, to make sure that, to make sure that everybody is aware. We'll put in more information out before it becomes effective. There will be a period where you get warnings before you get actual tickets. And then at some point, we'll start doing the regular real enforcement. If it becomes a challenge, if it becomes an issue, then we may have to revisit that and come up with new. The main reason we're not doing it right now, too, is it's thousands of signs already. And we want to make sure that we can get them implemented, and then we can come back and add if needed, but not delay the process longer by having to produce additional signs. So it's almost going by the minimum legal requirement to make sure that we can get them all out there, get the information out there. Also, I think that sometimes 1,000 signs aren't going to be as effective as one ticket. So, but also our goal is not to trap people into these tickets. So whatever information we can put out there, it's coming, here's what it looks like, here's the areas, share that out through the community as well. If you have places that you think this information should be posted, we'll be happy to post it. If there's other community groups that meet, we can do a 5-minute update saying, hey, that thing we talked about, here's a website, you can go there, and that's happening next week. We want to make sure we get the word out there as much as possible, because our goal is not to trap people into tickets. Our goal is to change the behavior and have people not violate those parking laws.
In other municipalities around us have had those signs posted that are similar to what he's talking about for several years now. And to be honest, the county unincorporated areas are probably one of the last communities around here to get them. So they're not uncommon. You can go down Hawthorne and they're huge signs. I mean, they're different than a parking sign. And really, if you go and look at the Hawthornes, you can't even read the narrative on them driving by. You'd have to actually stop somewhere and go walk, or there's quite a bit of language in it. But it basically says exactly what he says. You can't park these vehicles here, or they'll come after. And they only have them on the outsides, like you said, on the perimeter of their cities. I think Lawndale has them, all these other municipalities have.
It's also like cities that have no parking between 2 and 6 a.m. Overall, I think Pasadena, you can't park after midnight and between midnight and 6, and it's only at the entrances. That particular regulation, it's only at the entrances to the cities. So that when the regulation applies to the entire area, you just have to put the boundaries. So. But also to address those challenges, because traditionally parking enforcement, because we had the regulation in the books, but a lot of the violations is failure to obey signs, because we do have to put signs up to make sure that they're enforceable. One of the things that we're adding in here is we're actually adding a fine associated directly with this ordinance and not with failure to obey signs. So that way, when you get a ticket that says you violated Title 15.64.075, you can't say, well, I didn't see the sign. Because if we ticket them for failure to obey signs and they say, I didn't see a sign, there's a judge that might throw that out. But that's not what the ticket's going to be. The ticket's going to be violation of the ordinance itself, and that makes it a little more invalidation proof. That's trying to provide more tools to make sure that those tickets stand. Yeah. All right.
Any other questions?
And again, that email address, parking@pw.lacounty.gov. So my name and email there is there too, and I have some business cards as well if anybody would like those. Oh yeah, I was gonna pass it on.
So you have people online listening. That's why. Thank you.
Thank you. Thanks, Julian. My name is Patty Reyes. I'm the unit manager for parking enforcement, and like he mentioned, we're an expanding unit. We appreciate all of the comments today, whether negative, positive, what we're doing, what we're not doing. We do have also an LASD parking enforcement website where you can go in and link and upload information about where our areas are where you don't see our parking enforcement. We don't have enough out there, but we're trying to get more positions out to cover some of the areas and some of the problems out there. So we welcome any feedback. We're here back in the back. We have Chris and Steven on our team, and we have Lawson, and we are working really hard to make sure that we get to all the streets, but as you know, it's a lot. There's a lot going on out there, so we're doing the best that we can, and we welcome any feedback and any contact us on the portal, and we'll address specific concerns. Okay, thank you. And like he said, outreach, let your neighbors, friends, and family know about all the new laws, including AB 413.
All right, well, thanks again for having us, and we'll stick around for a little bit if you have further questions as well.
Thank you very much. I want to thank you guys, 'cause I'm glad you're still with the Sheriff's Department. I think that was a positive move to keep you, and I'm glad that a benefit that came out of that was our county parking enforcement with the Sheriff's Department has now been recognized in its deficit, and they're getting resources now, and I think that is a positive thing, and you're growing, and we know it's going to take time. So I think in a little bit of time, I've seen a change, and I think in time, everybody's going to see a change in what we see in enforcement and visibility from you. So thank you all for coming out tonight. Yes, sir.
You know, if I may say something real quick.
Yeah.
You said you see a change. If you can, just call the board of supervisors. Let them know that you've seen.
Yes, absolutely.
That's important.
That's true. And personally speaking, I know that the parking enforcement program is still under scrutiny, if you will. It's being watched closely. And if we want to keep that decentralized, basically, and with each sheriff station, so we have our own enforcement in our area, yes, call up if you need service or there's an issue that you see, but on the other side, make sure you call up and let the board know or send them an email that you appreciate what's going on. Otherwise, we still might lose them because it's not over yet. So, and if we lose them and it goes to another entity, correct. And if it goes to another entity, that means everything's going to be centralized. That means everything's going to be somewhere else and somebody else, and you won't see the same faces, and you won't see, it'll be who knows coming or where they're coming from. So, absolutely. And I guarantee you that's just out of personal experience too, a decentralized method is much more efficient because you can call the station and get services for it. So don't give up on it. Keep going. I see more people out there. I see PCOs I haven't seen before, so I know that there's more out there. And I look forward to you guys working hard and improving.
We have LASD parking enforcement where you can enter the address of specific concerns, and there is a survey that you can complete to let us know how we're doing, and those are provided to the board as well. So if you can please upload your information onto the surveys, we would welcome any information. It's on the LASD parking enforcement website.
LASD Parking Enforcement website. You can find that. They're asking that you go on there and contact the portal and upload your address and information and whatever the concern is, and that'll be forwarded to the right enforcement person to take care of it. Okay? Thank you very much. Thanks for coming tonight. I appreciate it. Anybody else have any questions or concerns, kind of open forum tonight? Have anything going on? Yes, sir.
And I want to ask out something.
Sure. You're gonna pass out something. All right, James, take care.
This
Wise,
is the activity that's at Del Air. It's mostly for seniors, but we welcome you youngsters to come in also if you are available on these days.
okay, thank you.
On 130th and Englewood,
Yes,
we're missing the sign that says 130.
the street sign is missing?
Yeah, the street sign is
Okay, 130th and Inglewood, all right,
on our side.
okay,
The other side has it, our side.
okay. I think if you can, or if you're not familiar, I'll go by and look at it, 130th and Inglewood. Right, I'll take a look and I'll go on, it's being addressed. There you go. There you have it. Yes, ma'am.
If anyone has any issues with Universal Waste Systems, which is our trash company, I do have a contact from Public Works.
Okay, if anybody has any issues with Universal Waste Services, there's a contact number or person?
Person and number.
There's a contact person who is Jose, I'll just say Acosta. He's the administrative assistant at LA County Public Works. And the office number is 626-458-3992. And the mobile number is 626-418-9181. I'll get a copy of that and maybe we can post it up so everybody knows.
So he's been very helpful with issues, like when you have asked for a bulky pickup and they don't pick it up. And, you know, you have to call and then they're like, oh, you're on the schedule for today. And then it might be the next day or the next day. He would like to know any issues that we are having so that he can address them because he is the contract administrator. So he can address it right away, speak to whoever's in charge, and then you will get a nice email from them, you know, letting you know what's going on. So rather than spending 45 minutes on the phone with Universal Waste, you know, you contact him and say, this is what's going on, and he can get a quick response for you.
Good, and I think another part of that is, the more he hears that there's problems, the more that'll come up when it's contract time too. So that's something to keep in mind, to let the county know if you're having trouble with the waste service company. So that's also good to know. Yes, ma'am, you had a question?
First of all, I want to know what your name is.
I'm sorry?
What's your name?
Tim Kreis,
Tim, of course.
yes.
Are you one of our officers?
One of the board members,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
So anyway, is Eddie still around or?
He is. You missed a very opening. He's on vacation and, yeah, we don't have a full board. All the board members aren't here tonight for various reasons. And,
I always come to these meetings about
Correct.
5 minutes late.
yeah,
But the thing that I was gonna mention is that the newsletter that we get on, you know, in our houses.
yes.
That's how I found out that we were gonna have a meeting. Is there any way that you guys can email us and remind us? Because look at how many people are
I got
here.
an email
Right.
that reminded me.
Did you get an email? Okay.
You did?
Then we need,
He hasn't put it
then
in.
if you can go, yeah.
Well, I told Bill the last time, and he
Okay.
said he was gonna take care of it.
Well,
And
if
so
you
far,
could,
the only reason why I found out the meeting is because of,
okay, well, I apologize for that. Yeah, I apologize for that, but if you can go on our website and let us know, you can email the board and we'll see that you're on the email list.
because I've asked Eddie different times.
Okay.
And then I also asked Bill, and he said he would take care of it.
Okay,
So far.
I apologize.
Oh, there's no problem. I just looked outside and see if the door is open, then I know it's a meeting.
Yeah, right.
The third Wednesday.
There you go. There you go. We try to be consistent. We try to be. The only other thing I could think of is the infamous project that the county was going to put up or is authorized to be put up on 137th Place in Inglewood is going forward. I wish I had the email in front of me to read you what I was told. we kind of pushed back again because it's at the very end. And I'll paraphrase and kind of put my words, which I don't think I am. I'm pretty sure I'm using the words I was told. Too bad, too late, it's going to happen. That's what I was told. Even though there's precedence now that the density bonus that's been approved is excessive, and other permits in other communities have been pulled because of it, they will not pull the permits for ours or adjust them. So that's the final, and I'm pretty sure those are the words I was told. And not from the person, the planner that's in charge of it. He would not, could not, or for whatever reason, he would not respond, but he responded through Aura. And then she forwarded his response. And that was pretty much it. So that's the kind of, again, this is me talking. I don't feel that they're working for us. That's when a response like that happens, when we've been pushing back since pretty much the inception when they tore it down. They said it's too late, permits have been approved, we're going ahead with it.
Is that person an elected official?
Of course not. Kevin down at planning, no, he's not elected. But he works for elected people.
You know, they're taking their marching orders from the county board of supervisors.
Yeah, so just to let you know, I don't know what more can be done. We don't have the resources for a lawsuit. That seemed to work fairly well when the city of Gardena decided to pick up, for their own reason, a lawsuit, and they sued the county because of the El Camino projects that were going forward. So I'm not an attorney, but it looks like the attorneys for the city of Gardena did all the legwork already, and they laid it out in their lawsuit, and the permits were pulled. So we don't have a lawsuit filed. We don't have the capability of it, but that's where they stand. Right. That's true. I don't know. Yeah. Yeah. So that's where that project stands. It looks like it's been cleared and leveled. So I don't know how close it is to actually breaking ground, but that was the last response I got from them, just to let everybody know about it. Any other questions tonight? What's that?
Thanks for the good news.
Oh, you're welcome. Any other questions? All right, it's getting late. Thank you all for coming. I appreciate it. And we'll see you at the next meeting. Or actually, National Night Out, I hope. Thank you. Yes.